Perspective, presented by the New Orleans Secular Humanist Association, following our few principles of humanism.
We're committed to the use of science and reason for understanding the universe and for solving human problems. We're skeptical of untested claims of knowledge, but we're open to new ideas.
We are concerned with securing justice and fairness in society and in ending intolerance and discrimination. We are committed to the total separation of religion and government.
We affirm humanism as a realistic alternative to the theologies of despair and the ideologies of violence. We reject the concept of an afterlife and believe in living a full and rewarding life here and now.
We value and respect each individual's right to judge and lead their lives according to their own position, as long as it's respectful of other people, living in a free society.
We hope you enjoy today's program and others in the weeks to follow.
Welcome to the New Orleans Humanist Perspective. I'm David Schultz. I'm the Vice President of New Orleans Secular Humanist Association, and I'm filling in for our regular host, Harry Greenberger. Today we have an interesting guest with an interesting concept. Our guest is Gretchen Zalkind, and Gretchen is going to tell us about the New Orleans Time Bank, and I'll let her take it from here, and I'm sure I'll have some questions of you.
Excellent. Thank you, David. Thanks so much, and thanks to Harry for inviting me. I'm pleased to come and talk about this project that we started about 10 months ago called the New Orleans Time Bank. And what the Time Bank is a system where if you spend an hour doing something for someone in your community, then you can put that hour in the bank and then have that hour to spend having someone do something for you.
Both people have to be part of the New Orleans Time Bank, though, right? You can't just do an hour for anybody, anywhere, and then claim that you've done something.
No, you need to be a member of the Time Bank. Membership is open to anyone in the greater New Orleans area. Membership is free. You do sign up online at nolatimebank.org, but there are individual members. There are also organizations that are members. So some of our members that are nonprofit organizations can use the Time Bank for an incentive for their volunteers. So the volunteers can actually get some hours from their volunteer work.
So a group like the New Orleans Secular Humanists could actually do things for people in the Time Bank and then potentially have somebody in the Time Bank do something for us.
Exactly.
That sounds great.
It is. We have the Ferret Neighborhood Association. We use their center since it is a web-based program, so all the hours that you earn are accumulated in your bank account that you can see online. People do need to have computers, but the Ferret Neighborhood Center has a computer lab. We do things at the Alvar Library in their computer lab, so we try to make sure that it's accessible, but it is all done on the web as far as your bank account.
So what kinds of things do people do as Time Bank offerings?
Well, once you're a member, you can post offers and requests. So you might think of the things that you'd like to do to help people, and then you think of the things that maybe you'd like people to do for you. And the Time Bank, the offerings are whatever the people in the Time Bank need. So it could be dog walking, it could be elder care or child care. Transportation is a popular one. A ride to the airport. I mean, that's a really handy thing to have. So we have bartenders. We have someone that can perform your marriage. I'm trying to think. Yeah, clean your house, mow your lawn.
Do your taxes.
Do your taxes. We have a mediator, someone that will help you resolve your disputes. So the more members there are, the more variety we'll have with what we can offer at the Time Bank. There's 160 members now. It's only been in existence since last October, so it's still very young.
It's growing quickly.
And it's growing quickly, yeah.
So you have some upcoming events, is that?
We do. As I mentioned, the Ferret Neighborhood Center is a great partner. They have they're at 4605 Ferret Street and have a computer lab and a little lounge, and we're there usually 2 Saturdays a month for a get-together and a workshop on using the Time Bank software. But we also have picnics. We're doing, on July 20th, we'll be doing a neighborhood cleanup in the Leonidas area and having a picnic in Palmer Park after the cleanup. That's a project that we're doing with Project Greenlight, which is a neighborhood nonprofit. So I said trying to partner with different nonprofits that already have projects going. We can reinforce the projects that are already happening.
So an exchange between organizations and not just individuals.
It is. The individuals credit the hours, and then the organization would have a deficit. And how that organization can make up their deficit is doing something back for the membership. So the Ferret Neighborhood Center offers us the use of their computer lab. You know, another organization might throw a party or something to the main concept of the Time Bank is reciprocity. It's that everyone needs things, everyone has something to offer. So it's always a two-way street. It's not we're the givers and you're the receivers, or the other way around.
Okay. My understanding is it's time only. It's not goods. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So if somebody said, I do sewing and I can make a dress for you, they could get Time Bank hours by making the dress, but the cost of whatever they use for making the dress, the fabric, the thread, none of that could be included in the credit.
Exactly. It's the person who wanted the dress made for them would buy the fabric and the buttons and the thread and give those to the person who would be doing the labor. It's all based on labor, and everyone's labor is equal. So a seamstress or someone doing your taxes or someone mowing your lawn
or cooking for you.
An hour is an hour is an hour. So every hour is equal. It also, whatever someone brings to the Time Bank is equally valued, which is a really important concept.
So what if you're a member of the Time Bank and you can't find someone to take your services? What happens?
Well, I say it's a little bit like Craigslist, where you have to write an appealing ad in the portion of the website where you list your offers. But also, because we try to do many different social events where people are getting together in real life, and the conversation will turn to, well, hey, what is it that you do? And once you've met somebody, two things happen. One, they say, wow, that's I don't know, what sort of things do you think you might offer?
I love to cook. That's something that I could offer. I make a great eggplant parmesan, and people have offered to pay me for my eggplant parmesan, but if they just brought the ingredients, certainly I could put it together for them.
That sounds wonderful. That sounds like a great service, and you're more likely, once you meet somebody in person and you say, oh, I'm known for my eggplant parmesan, that they'll say, hey, we have a busy week next week. What are you doing on Wednesday night? It would be great to come home and have dinner already made.
So another thing, I love to fish. Could somebody volunteer to take somebody else fishing if they wanted for?
Sure.
So it's completely open.
It's completely open, and I think part of the reason why there are time banks all across the U.S. and in foreign countries, And time banks they're different because it's what the people in the time bank want. So what's important in one part of the country, or there are hospital-based time banks that are more care banks where they're really concerned about people coming home from the hospital and they need someone to look in on them, maybe cook, and then that person repays the time by doing that for the next person. But it's what the people in the time bank want and need that determines what's offered.
So this is worldwide, you say, and things like this bartering has been going on for a long time. But when did the name time bank and the sort of the formal arrangement that you have now get started, and who started it?
Well, you're right. It's not a new concept at all. But the formal time bank and the name time bank comes from a man named Edgar Kahn. And he started this in the 1980s. He was a civil rights attorney and law professor. And it grew out of the work that he was doing legal aid in Washington, D.C. And during the 80s, when a lot of the money dried up for his services, he was looking for a different way to continue to offer the legal services to the people in Washington, D.C., and he came up with the idea of partnering with different community groups, whether it's churches or community associations, and saying, I'll continue to give legal services, but the folks getting the services will turn around and repay the hours by doing some work in the community. And it was enormously successful. And now with the technology that we have, that it can be a web-based software, and the web-based software comes from Edgar Kahn's, there's a national nonprofit called Time Banks USA, and it's run by Edgar Kahn, and that's the framework that we use. And there's also a support network of all the other time banks that share this particular software, this particular configuration. So
he's still active.
He's very active.
And there's an active time bank in the Washington, D.C. area. That's where he's based still?
Very active, very active. He does a time bank-based youth court that's in all the high schools that kids in Washington, D.C. who might be arrested on some sort of infraction, rather than going to the formal court system, will go to the time bank youth court and be tried by a jury of other kids, and then they in turn pay with hours by being on the court for other kids. And it's an amazing system.
The legal system in Washington recognizes that.
Yes, he's in, I believe it's in every high school, and it's formally recognized. So.
That's interesting. So how many time banks are there in the U.S. approximately?
I believe it's at about 200. It may be more.
I would expect this sort of thing would do well in college towns. Is that true? Is that?
Yes,
students often have more time than they have money, and that's a great way to sort of make ends meet in a way, is to offer something to somebody else in return for something else you may need.
No, I think that's probably true, that there are a lot of, I know Madison, Wisconsin has a very large time bank that does very many different things. But I don't know, they're all over the country. New England seems to have some the Portland Hour Exchange in Portland, Maine is a very vibrant time bank. But I got involved in time banking back in 2008, and I was living in Los Angeles. I got downsized from my job and just saw in a local paper this little group And I thought, what a great concept. And I think I was probably, at the same time this was happening all over the country with the economic squeeze on, and people are thinking, okay, how am I going to make ends meet? And I became involved with the group in Los Angeles, in Echo Park. And when I joined, there were maybe 50, 60 members. And now I think they're up over 1,000, and they've merged with some other time banks. And it's definitely an idea for today's economy.
So what services do you offer?
My most popular service is that I will take your glass recycling out to Metairie, to the one place I know of that will recycle glass.
Yeah.
I can rewire lamps. I can build websites. I take care of the Time Bank website, kind of the events portion, the back part of it. The operational part is set, but I'm the one that always makes sure our new events are on the front page of the website. So those are the kinds of things I offer, the kinds of things I like to receive.
That's my next question.
Oh, I jumped on it. My mother lives with us, and she's starting to get Alzheimer's. And so I'm a full-time caregiver, and anyone that wants to come and do a puzzle or take a walk and give me an hour of off-duty respite care, that's my favorite service to receive.
Well, I wonder, do you have any problems with people trying to game the system or take advantage of others? It seems like it could be open for that sort of thing.
Well, it's there's a little bit of a release when you sign up for the Time Bank. It's not a professional service bureau. It's not Angie's List where the service people, we're not checking people's licenses. It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Oh.
So we want to make it clear that if you're asking, like anyone that's going to come spend time with my mother, I meet them. I spend some time with them. I find out, have they helped older people before? What sort of experience have they had doing this sort of thing? So that I feel comfortable with the person that's going to come and offer respite care. Okay. So we do encourage people to it's like Craigslist in that it's pretty open. Although people need to join and be a member, we're very open and inclusive, which is a very good thing, I think. But people need to do their own homework. As far as gaming the system, it's a pay-it-forward system. If you you're just out there helping everyone and you get 100 hours in the bank and you say, I want to cash these out,
yeah.
The only way you can cash them out
there's no cash.
Is having people do 100 hours of work for you. And so
I see the potential for somebody to offer a service that they can never give because they don't have the time or whatever, but then ask other people to come by and do things for them. Would you come mow my lawn or clean my house and how long can that go on?
Well, there are 3 of us that are coordinators, myself, Marcella Singleton, and Bella Villa. And so we kind of monitor people's accounts so we can see if somebody is especially one-sided. My experience has been more people want to offer and more people want to help than actually take the help. I think it's the harder thing is accepting help. people are used to giving it and being a volunteer, but accepting it is the harder part of the deal.
So you attract a group of people with a high moral character, is what you're saying. This is.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah, well, that's what
so
it sounds.
Far.
That's what it sounds like. If everybody is honest in this way and giving more than they're receiving, it sounds like that's nice.
It's nice, but it's interesting because part of our core belief is this belief in reciprocity, and everyone does have needs, and it's okay to take help when you need help. And I think that's an important element, that people do reach out when they need help.
So are there, I know many professionals like lawyers do pro bono work on, could a professional like a lawyer do this time bank work and receive, say, some rewards in their professional career? I could see how it might spread the word about their abilities, their expertise. But I know many professional organizations require some volunteer time commitment. Do people like that get involved in time bank? And I mean, it's not pure volunteering, but it certainly seems like it's a volunteer effort. And
yeah, it's kind of halfway between volunteerism and barter.
Right.
It's meeting in the middle somehow, and it really depends on the organization. And there are some volunteer requirements that schools have, and that being a member of the time bank may not fit in because you are getting something back for the work that you do. Now, we have many nonprofit partners that are always looking for volunteer help. So I suppose you could do the work for a partner and not really run it through the time bank. But
I see. So what sorts of, can you name some of the nonprofit organizations?
Oh, sure. Project Greenlight, the Neighborhoods Partnership Network, the Front Neighborhood Center is part of Neighborhood Housing Services, the Lower Ninth Ward Village. And I'm going to feel really bad if there's somebody that I forgot now. There's an alternative economies group that meets at Loyola on Wednesday nights, and we are part of that group. The community print shop, they're moving, but it's a screen print shop that's run collectively for the community. But there are a lot of different groups. One thing sometimes people are concerned about, and why I say it's halfway between volunteerism and barter is taxable by the IRS. And the time bank exchanges are specifically not taxable because first of all, it's a pay-it-forward system. In true barter, it's if you're an attorney and you get $350 an hour, and I do house cleaning and I get $10 an hour, I'm going to have to work, 35 hours for your 1 hour.
Right.
And there's a dollar value to the hours. But with the time bank, we never make that dollar equivalent. It's always in time. And that way we avoid people having to pay taxes on the services they get.
So is this some special rule that the IRS has developed for time banks? Or, I mean, it seems like it's not that much different from bartering for the purpose of the IRS. Because you are getting something that you could put a dollar value on. It's like, when I donate an old piece of furniture to Goodwill, they always ask if I'd like a receipt for that. because that's a donation. It seems like this is.
Yeah,
it must be something special that they've done.
Well, there is a letter from the IRS. It's really sad that everything has a dollar value. If you feed your neighbor's cat while they're out of town, do you need to say what is the dollar value of that? You know, if you're helping your neighbor that came home from the hospital, I mean, part of what I love about time banking is trying to get away from putting a dollar value on all these parts of our lives that are about community building. So I don't know.
So it's taken sort of the neighbor exchange, that like feeding your neighbor's cat or watering their garden while they're out of town, that sort of thing, to the next level. It's just making it a little more formal, where the neighborhood becomes bigger.
The neighborhood becomes bigger, and as people, you know, I'm sure years ago, when you knew everybody on your street, and New Orleans is definitely more that way already. I mean, there's great neighborhoods and there's great cohesiveness on the neighborhoods, but there are a lot of people that, like myself, that move into town, and maybe they don't have the same kind of support network. So the time bank kind of gives you a format and a way to develop those community connections that people used to have years ago, and now we don't so much.
Well, so you say Time Bank has been going since October.
Yeah, the NOLA Time Bank since October.
NOLA Time Bank. I'm just curious, was it a completely web-based advertisement, or has it grown from just people looking for such things on the web, or have you had to advertise? Or
we do advertise it. When I got to town, I talked to the folks in D.C., found out there wasn't one here, and I was able to be put in touch with a few other people that had also expressed interest in getting this going. And Marcella and Bellavia both lived in town much longer, so they had wider circles of friends. And then we did flyering, we do door hanging, and by partnering with other groups that already have larger volunteer base, we get more outreach that way.
Well, that's interesting. Is there any one last thing you'd like to let people know? You say it's twice a month on Saturdays. Is it like the first and third, or second and fourth?
It varies. I would really encourage people to go to nolatimebank.org and double check when the next event is, because we try to do them all around town so that you, within the month, can find something that's not too far from where you are.
Well, we're out of time.
Great.
This was a very interesting conversation. I'm interested in the time bank. It's something I could see getting involved with. And I think a lot of people in New Orleans want to help other people. That's clear after Katrina. And I think this fits right in nicely. Thank you.